Opposed?
Second.
Got a motion properly seconded. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, our next case is subdivision case S21-43. This is Sally and Joan Thornton's request for 6 lots and 6 conservation lots of 26 acres in the corner area. Mr. Martin.
Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed subdivision to split 2 acreage tracts into 6 lots of record for residential use and an additional 6 conservation lots, which are not for development due to essentially carving off floodplain. This is an A1 agriculture zoning. The proposed subdivision does comply with the zoning regulations. The note was made that any driveway access will have to be permitted by the county engineer. There is a recorded right-of-way deed on file for Bankhead Highway, which is on the south end of the property. Indicates the right-of-way is 80 feet wide. However, the county property manager has requested that the owners rededicate by deed that section of right-of-way for Bankhead Highway. There will also be right-of-way dedication required for Mill Creek Road, which runs along the east side of the property there. As mentioned, there is floodplain on the property, and as such, these few small conservation lots, there's right down here in the southern part of the acreage, are essentially carving off that floodplain and putting them in a state of conservation there, not to be developed on. There's no sanitary sewer available, so the health department will have to approve the septic field use. The staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here in opposition to this case. All right, is the
Quick question here.
Sure. Yeah. If you and I'm sorry, we have to require everybody to come forward and state your name and address, so we'll have a record in case we need to contact you.
Just to stand forward here. We just have 2 or 3 questions on this.
Sure.
Appreciate your presentation there. Right here?
Yes, sir. Please
My
write
name
the
is
mic.
Mike Getzman. I'm here with my wife Annette. We have a house, the old house, at the end of that road, Mill Creek Road. The address is 8379 Mill Creek Road. And the question that we had, just, and I know this has to, I understand it's supposed to be bouncing to the streets and transportation to see if there might be another driveway. Sir, am I understanding that right?
All driveways have been permitted.
Okay, so, but where would traffic come? Would it come off the old existing road, or have you been in that area for recently, or?
I have
Oh, okay. It's just a very small road. You can see how it does wind back in there, but the proposed entrance, is that going to come off of Bankhead Highway? Is that kind of the plan on this?
We can see if he may not be the person to answer that. If you'll just ask your questions to the commission, we've got a number of pro staff people here, and we've got a representative of Roads and Transportation here who may be a little bit more familiar with it. So,
Okay,
just address your comments to us, please.
Okay, well, the concern is that a very small road that is often very flooded.
Uh-huh.
I know there's effort to try to, kind of mitigate some of that, but we just didn't know if the proposed driveway was going to come off of Bankhead Highway, or if we're going to try to have the new folks try to use that older road, Mill Creek Road. And so that was the question.
And proposed driveway for which lot?
Well, I'm not sure how this is going to be divided. If I could reach over this gentleman here and just kind of point this area. We have a major road right here, Bankhead Highway.
Oh.
And I see a sign that has some, this, if there was a proposed entrance to this subdivision, which is all hay pasture. And I guess our interest here is that that's hay that my wife's has bought from in the past, and so it's going to be turned into something different now. But we don't know if this area is, that these folks are going to be using Mill Creek Road as it exists, or if there's going to be a new driveway that would actually not be any of our concern, I guess, if it comes off of Bankhead Highway.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll see if the applicant is here or their representative, and maybe they can address those questions.
Just a big concern on that.
Sure. Any other questions you got?
No, sir. That's
Okay.
it.
All right. Is there anyone else here who has any opposition or questions or comments? All right, seeing none, is the applicant here? Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. All right, yeah, Heather, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you speak at all to traffic and access points?
Well, I'm just guessing
Yeah.
because I haven't seen any development plan for that subdivision, but it looks like they carved off the one lot that fronts that Millstead Road for a conservation easement, which means that nothing's gonna happen to it. And then you have another lot that it appears only faces Bankhead Highway. So,
Two lots.
two lots. So, I mean, just by virtue of the way that they attach and face, the likely direction would be that way.
Coming off Bankhead Highway.
Probably, but I haven't seen the plan for what they plan to do there, and it appears that they're leaving a fairly large chunk behind it. So, again, purely speculation. I haven't seen what they're proposing there, but just by virtue of the way that it's separated, there's those conservation lots kind of limit where you can attach.
Is it safe to say though that any new driveway accesses will have to be approved by the county?
Uh-huh.
And,
Yes.
and that those will be, critiqued from an engineering perspective, whether it's safe to locate the driveway in that particular area?
Mill Creek Road is a one-lane road,
Okay.
and people going back and forth.
And I'm sorry, I don't,
Has to get off the road.
could you come forward, please, and I'm sorry to do that. I know you just had one quick question, but we need your name and address for the record and
Okay.
everything. Yeah.
Annette Getzman, Goetzman,
Okay.
8379 Mill Creek Road. It's more like it is paved, but it is one lane.
I
And
see.
if you've got two people going in opposite directions, one car has to get off the road. And there's only a couple of places on that road where you can get off the road safely. Otherwise, there are ditches. And it's very hard for two cars to pass each other going in opposite directions. And that would be my concern with having more houses on that road, is that if they're not going to widen the road, there's going to be people possibly having accidents. And further down the road, there is an agricultural section that is still agricultural, and that's where there are farm animals at the end of that road.
It's just, quickly, isn't that a dead-end street down there?
It is a dead-end street. There are 15 houses on that road.
Very few.
So the plat map indicates, and I wish Rogan was here, but the plat map indicates there's a 50-foot wide right-of-way there. Is that what right-of-way will, are we acquiring right-of-way with this case?
It will be for both roads, for both Bankhead. Well, Bankhead, supposedly there's an unrecorded right-of-way existing for 80 feet for
Okay.
Bankhead, and they will be requiring dedication of it by deed, and also for the Mill, what's the name of that road?
Mill
Road on the
Creek.
east side. Mill Creek, thank you. The right-of-way will be required for that as well, for the parts obviously adjacent to the property.
Okay, so with this case, they're going to be dedicating additional right-of-way on Mill Creek Road to bring it to the right-of-way to a total of 50 feet wide, but we're not requiring any paving or anything like that, or actual widening of the road, but the right-of-way itself, we are picking up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not going to add too, Martin, just to, Mr. Chairman, sorry, there's 6 lots that are being proposed from the subdivision. Lot 4, as you can see right here in the middle, there's actually an existing house already there. So that one is, they're including the subdivision. From my understanding, talking with the surveyor, the intention is to split these lots for sale. The person is wanting to more or less shed this property. And so there's 2 lots that are going to be fronting off Bankhead Highway, and then there's one large lot 3. This is 17 acres. So this is A1 agriculture. They're by right. This is a one stick-built home, or several mobile homes as well. And then 2 lots on the north end up there, lot 1 and lot 2. So the total of potentially looking at five new houses on this entire property, only of 3 of which will actually front on Mill Creek Road, the road that was stated in terms of the concern of the road.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Clarify that.
Yeah, I mean, did y'all hear that? Basically, it looks like there will only be a total of 3 additional houses, potentially,
Yes.
created by the subdivision that would use Mill Creek Road as their primary means of ingress and egress. So, you know, I understand that the concerns about the widths of the road and things, but 3 additional houses, hopefully that isn't going to make it, you know, a dangerous event or a dangerous road. So, yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
can you speak to the speaker's concern about the road that's just one way? Where is that? She just talked about a road.
Where it's located on there?
Yes.
It's on the east. Actually, let me do this real quick. Let me pull up the satellite real quick here. Image. It'll be easier to see. It's on the eastern side there of the property. It comes off of Bankhead, and I'll show the bottom half. So it comes off Bankhead Highway here.
Okay.
It runs north and
Does
south.
it have anything to do with the way that the 3 dwellings, the people who are living in those dwellings will enter or exit their homes?
They will have to come up. The properties that are on the northern lots here. Let me slide back up.
Hold on,
So
let me interrupt you real quick. I think what I heard was that she said that the road is basically one lane, not one way. And just to make sure we're not talking about circulation or flow of traffic. It's
One
the
way,
width. Right.
one lane.
One lane. Yeah, that's what I
Okay, that's, yes.
It
I still
refers-
have the same concern
Okay.
as one lane.
So it refers to a specific pavement width, and our design standard under a certain average daily traffic allows for that width of road. And the amount of additional traffic that would be generated by 3 houses would not trigger the need for the development to upgrade the road.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for
Yes.
staff.
Mr. Lauer, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, with the conservation lots, the question you might expect I was going to have is, are they tied to any of the existing lots?
They will need to be tied by by deed to one of the lots, or that's to be determined, I think, but it just has to be tied to one of the developable lots.
Do we need to
By
include
deed.
anything in our approval today to reflect that, or is it?
I don't think it hurt.
It'd probably be good to put that in there. That's
Okay.
yeah, that we could say we have done that in the past.
So to summarize, we should tie the approval to tie the approval to tying the conservation lots to one of the developable lots. Is that correct?
Yes. So I guess a stipulation that conservation lots are tied by deed to a developable lot.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions from the commission? All right. Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing, and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like a motion to approve S 21-0043 as proposed, and also to tie the conservation lot to the development lots.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, our next case is subdivision case S 21-44. This is the Greater Birmingham Habitat for Humanity's request for a 94-lot subdivision of 34.45 acres in the Hopewell area. Mr. Martin, if you would please present the case.
This is a proposal to subdivide 1 acreage tract into, excuse me, I got the wrong one here. One acreage tract into 94 lots of record. This is for a single-family housing development, and this is following a rezoning case that happened in 2019, where the county commission approved this parcel to be rezoned from A1 agriculture to RG with restrictive covenants for the purpose of this very subdivision here. The staff have reviewed this subdivision, and it does comply with the zoning regulation. There is been a request for a traffic study to be given to determine if auxiliary lanes are warranted for Hopewell Road at the proposed entrance site, and that has actually been done since this report has been turned to the county traffic engineer. There will be right-of-way required for Nixon Road, Eubanks Road, Hopewell Road, where adjacent to the property. No floodplain on this property, and there is sanitary sewer available, so the Jefferson County Environmental Services will have to approve the final plat for this subdivision. Also note too that there is, this is showing phase 2 on the plat here. There is another portion of this development that is actually happening across Hopewell Road that is actually in the city of Bessemer, so they'll be permitting that portion of it. There is a small parcel that's going to be across Hopewell Road that's a part of the subdivision, but it's essentially a common area. There's no homes on that portion, and the entrance for the other phase of the development, as you'll see down there in the bottom right-hand corner of this plat. Staff recommends approval for this subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Moore, anybody, if y'all want to add to the presentation, you're more than welcome to at this time. Okay. All right. Is there any questions from the commission? All right. Seeing none, then we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to motion to approve S21-0044 as proposed.
Second.
All right. The motion and a second. I'd like for us to do this as a roll call because I need to abstain from this case. So if the clerk would please call a roll call.
Helen Carter,
Yes.
Brian Debro,
Yes.
Dr. Brenda Dickerson,
Yes.
Martin Evans,
Abstain.
Ken Lowry,
Yay.
Jay Miller,
Yes.
Eddie Nelson,
Yes.
Georgia McCoy O'Neill,
Yes.
Aquan Stiegler,
Yes.
All right. Sounds like the ayes have it. So, all right, good deal. All right, our next case is S21-45. This is Pamela Shell and Charlotte Ann McFarland's request for a 5-lot subdivision of 40.85 acres in the Bluff Ridge area. Mr. Martin, if you would, please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed subdivision to split 1 acreage tract, 40 acres, into 5 lots of record for residential use. This is A1 agriculture zoning subdivision. The staff have completed a review. The subdivisions do comply with the zoning regulations. Traffic engineer has noted that it will be necessary to clear and grade the frontage of lots 3, 4, and 5 to obtain adequate site distance for driveway access. And as of all of these subdivisions, the driveway access must be permitted by the engineer as well. And I'll make a note here that there is substantial topography changes on this site from Shades Crest Road, and it goes downhill rather steeply to the north there. So that's the necessary grading that he's speaking of. The recorded right-of-way does exist for South Shades Crest Road. However, there will be some additional right-of-way dedication required. I think there's currently 5 extra feet that needs to be recorded by deed. It's currently just a maintenance easement. There's no floodplain on the site and no sewer available, so the Department of Health will have to authorize the septic system for each of these properties. Also, I'd like to note that this property did come up in a subdivision case in 2017, and the commission approved a preliminary plat for 6-lot subdivision. So it's very similar to this one, except for it had 1 more lot. The orientation was slightly different, but it was never recorded. So they are coming back before you today to bring this new plat. I would also like to note that there was one opposition letter that we did receive yesterday from a neighboring property that was concerned over some of the topography impacts and potential traffic impacts that this development would potentially bring. The staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to this case. All right, is the applicant here? Yeah, okay, thank you. Sure, yeah, please come forward, and you have to state your name and address for the record. It's just one of our protocols.
Fine. I'm Pamela Shell.
Okay.
And my address is 13453 South Shawnee Road, Huntsville, Alabama. And my question is about the road frontage. I'm not sure exactly what that means to me. I'm also one of the owners of the property.
I see.
What does that mean? Is this going to be like when we're trying to sell these lots, will we need to notify the people that they will have to go through the
Roads and transportation.
In order to know exactly where, and that they may have to excavate a little bit around their driveway so that they have to.
It's going to come up as part of your building permit process, because you have to permit those driveways and you have to do that correction with the road frontage.
So you're saying I would have to do all that?
Whomever
first?
builds.
Well, I mean, I'm the owner, so.
Well, I understand, but you can, as part of the development for the lot, so
Right.
until somebody goes to develop something and pulls a building permit, you have to go through a process of engineering and getting your building plans approved, and that's what triggers it.
So it sounds like, for purposes of today, that we can create these lots as you've proposed, but if anybody actually wants to build a house on them, at that time they'll have to do some grading work, site improvement work to satisfy roads, transportation, safety requirements.
Yeah, that's what I needed to hear.
Yes, ma'am.
And I appreciate that, because
Yeah.
there is a curve, and I understand that little embankment.
Sure.
But we have some people interested that want to buy 2 and some that want to buy 3.
Okay.
And so if they work with the roads, they may be able to put their driveway in a spot where they won't have to spend quite so much to, or I don't know, that'll be up to them.
That's right. They'll need to, they should do that as part of their due diligence. You know, whether you have to tell them about that ahead of time is really a legal question that we don't really get into. But yeah, but that's what I think you probably should just give them a heads up, and that way if they,
Right.
find out for the first time the day before closing, that could be an issue for you. But yes, ma'am, I think it would be a good idea for you to do that, and then get everything straightened out
Right.
well in advance. But
Nobody
yeah.
likes surprises. Thank
No,
you
they
very
don't.
much.
You're welcome. I've got a question real quick. It looks like that we've got a county line that runs through lots 1, 2, and 3. So does Randy Cole and Shelby County approve access?
They're going to have to sign off on the plat, and if they access, they'll have to approve that. Yeah, any access for those lots.
Yeah, because, and that's something else to bear in mind, is that South Shades Crest Road on lots 1, 2, and 3, the county straddles that portion of Shelby County, that is, straddles that portion of South Shades Crest Road. So we would only really be, but Roads and Transportation would only be approving access for lots 4 and 5, and then I don't know what happens on lot 3.
Well, it depends on where he cited.
Yeah, if you go to the east, it might.
Yeah, if I might address that.
Sure.
I've already taken, under his direction, I've taken it to Shelby County.
Yes, ma'am.
And I sat and talked with them, and Christine
Goddard.
who's in charge, said in Shelby County, they're going to require the surveyor to go ahead and mark where the driveways are.
I see.
And people can petition them to change them if they want.
I
So
see.
it's just a little different in the way they do it. But they're already, she's pretty much set to approve it. She says there's no other problems, except that the surveyor hasn't marked it yet. He's waiting to see what to do with
These.
you, and then he'll do it all at once.
Would it be appropriate for there to be any kind of coordination for us? I mean, would that be appropriate for pre-approval on a site plan? I mean, you would
We work
want,
it out with them.
yeah, outside. Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else that has any questions or comments?
Let's just go through the opposition. They had 3 points. One about setback being too close to the road, and we have regulations that address the setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's an issue. Traffic, it's not a lot of lots, 5 residential houses. You didn't have any issues with that, did you, in traffic? And then they said it didn't meet subdivision criteria, which it does. So I think we got everything covered there in the opposition.
All right, very well.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Is there any other comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S 21-0045 as proposed.
Second.
Got a motion properly seconded. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion carries. All right, that concludes our subdivision cases. And for those of y'all who are here, you're not going to be, it's not rude of you to walk out if you wish to, but if y'all want to stick around, we'd love to have you. If you want to hear what else is going on in the county. All right, we'll next move to our zoning cases. And for these, Michael Morrison here with Development Services will present the case and for our rezoning cases. And after that, we'll ask for the applicant to come forward if they wish. And at that time, they can add to Mr. Morrison's summary if they would like, or they can wait to see if there's any opposition and then wait to address the commission after the opposition goes. Each side will have 15 minutes per side. It doesn't look like there's much of a chance that there's going to be any lengthy hearings on these based on the attendance today. But nonetheless, those are the ground rules. All right, our first case, and I would remind everybody that we're a recommending body only. Final decision for rezoning is made by the county commission at a subsequent hearing. So our first case is Z21-12, Michael Whitson's request to consolidate an A1 zoning on the property by removing the split zoning in order to construct a detached garage. This is on 0.93 acres in the Quentin area. Mr. Morrison, if you please present the case.
Yes, sir. If you'll notice on the screen, this property is outlined in black. You'll notice the split zoning that's right there. There's a quarter section line that runs through that portion. For some reason, the portion that's south of that quarter section line has a C3 zoning classification, which is only for like lounges or bars or. Evidently, at some point in the history of this property, there was something on the property. But, and again, I can't find any origins of a zoning case. It looks like it was original zoning. So maybe there was something there upon the inception of county zoning in the late 40s or the 50s. Anyway.
When did you say that? In the late 40s?
Late 40s, early 50s.
That was the original county zoning?
Yes.
Definitely a honky.
That's when they started doing started with the county zoning.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, the property owner actually owns the adjacent property that's to the east. And they plan on using this property to construct a garage, just personal storage, their vehicles, that sort of thing. And in order to do so, we've got to mind that zoning district boundary line, and that's why they've requested to essentially remove it and just consolidate the A1 zoning on the property. Everything complies with the policies of the land use plan. This area is designated for rural, and A1 is sort of the ideal zoning classification for that particular land use designation in these areas that are scattered out along these old county roads. So, again, got any questions, let me know. Staff recommends approval.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Is the applicant here? If you care to, you're welcome to come forward and add anything you like, but you don't feel obligated to. You can wait to see if there's any questions or comments. Okay. All right. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, are there any questions from the commission? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of zoning case Z21-0012.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Our next case is C21-14. This is Thomas and Mary Self's request for change of zoning to A1 for a cattle pasture. Current zoning is I1. This is a 138-acre tract in the Partridge Crossroads area. Mr. Morrison, if you would, please present the case.
Yes, so this is a property in the area of the county that is designated as agriculture in the county land use plan. And of course, with a rezoning to agricultural zoning, it would comply with those policies. This site is formally strip mined. I remember when I first got at the county in 2006, it seemed like this site was going under the mining operations at that time, and since then it ceased. And a lot of this property has transferred ownership from the mining companies to this individual, and currently is used for grazing cattle. I believe at some point within recent history, recent times, there was an operation on the facility that was using some products to fertilize the property, which caused some public concern. It's my understanding from the property owner that that process has indeed ended. I believe they're using sludge from a chicken plant in order to fertilize the grass. But again, just due to the outcry and everything else, that particular operation has stopped. We did receive a letter, or I'm sorry, an email in opposition just this morning, and I'll share that with you. But that email of opposition addressed that particular operation that was going on with the property at that time.
Was the county involved in any way in citing them for a zoning violation or anything like that in that use?
No, it didn't really constitute a zoning violation in that instance.
Yeah, so, Brian, was there any health department interface in that?
There was. They came out.
So, hang on a second, Mr. DeBro represents health department,
I
so,
do, but I don't have any recollection of what took place.
Yeah.
I don't know what year that was.
okay.
Okay. Personally,
It has stopped. It's been stopped for some time.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Sorry.
No problem.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it. Again, staff recommends approval of this one as well.
All right, good job, thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? Well, I guess. All right. And does the applicant care to come forward and add anything, or?
No.
Okay.
The sludge that was used on there came from Tyson, and it was a treated sludge.
Okay. Let me get you to come forward and give us your name and address. Just, I know I hate to trouble you and get everybody up, but
That's okay.
yeah.
Tommy Self, 4624 Warrior Jasper Road, Door Island.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
What I was gonna add to it was the opposition letter that y'all got was, they said that we dumping illegal sludge out there. That sludge was not illegal sludge.
Okay.
That came from a processing plant that was treated before. Tyson ain't gonna let nothing out of their plant that ain't treated.
Yeah, right.
It came from the Tyson plant in Blumpsville.
Okay.
And it was treated sludge.
Okay. And you spread it over your field for fertilizer, for your hay and things.
Fertilizer.
I see.
That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And we raised 3 sets of cattle and calves on it now to market, ready for market, and we're working on our 4th set, and that's terrace grass, and it's hard to fertilize it because it's strip mine land, and if you cut into it, you're gonna dig up rock.
I see.
So I had to have something on there that you could spray on there to keep from digging up the rock. There's
Okay.
not much dirt on there, but there's enough dirt to grow grass.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions from the commission for Mr. Self or for staff? Seeing none, we'll close. Oh, sure.
Where was the odor coming from? Has that been resolved?
Yes, ma'am. That was from that
That was
operation.
from the stuff that they sprayed on there. It didn't last a week, and it wasn't that bad of an odor. The people that was complaining about it is just neighbors, but I think they just need some attention. They got to get on the news.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, one last thing I did want to point out that I neglected to. There's portions of this property that are within the floodplain, and agricultural uses and zoning is typically ideal or desired for those sorts of areas that you don't want a lot of disturbance on. So I did want to make that point as well.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we're downzoning this from an industrial use to an agricultural use, consistent with the comprehensive plan. I mean, this sounds like, something we routinely approved. So, all right, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval, zoning case Z210014.
Second.
Got a motion properly seconded. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. All right, that concludes our rezoning cases. Our last order of business is, looks like a site plan approval for Z 19-18 Andrea Montgomery's request for a site plan approval on the accounting office. Yes, sir. Mr. Morrison, if you would please present the case.
Yes, sir. Again, we had heard this case last month and carried it over due to some concerns raised by the health department representative based on the site plan we were using. I have a confession to make. I had mixed up the site plan that he had provided me with the one that was on file, so that was actually my fault. However, I do feel better about it now because the guy sent me a whole totally revised one this morning, and this is it. So, this is the proposed architecture. Of course, it's going to coincide with the restrictive covenant that it keep a residential appearance. You see they've got the hipped roof and everything else. Proposed site layout that was sent again this morning is down here. And so it shows the structure fairly well away from all property lines. It's going to satisfy building setbacks. The parking area, in checking what they provided for the square footage of the building, they're going to be in compliance with the number of spaces. They are proposing to gravel it, which that's fine. We just ask that it be in some way, form, or fashion improved. We just have to be sure that they've got the adequate number of space or the adequate space to provide the adequate number of spaces for the parking lot. And, of course, the driveway apron leading into the parking lot will have to be paved to meet the standards of road transportation. I'd also like to point out that as part of the approval of the rezoning case, they will have to make improvements to Corey Street, which that will have to be satisfied before we can issue any sort of building permits. And we also see where there's plantings along the property line, and it also states that there's a 6-foot high wood fence. They will have to maintain a 15-foot buffer between that property line. I'm not sure that space is depicted completely in full engineering terms, but that will be something that will be required upon, again, issuing building permits and site plan approval.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case?
Oh, this is purely administrative, so there wasn't a public hearing that was advertised.
Well, okay, yeah, okay. All right, so no public hearing on this one. Yeah, can I make a suggestion? You know, I see the site plan, and I know that we have a site plan approval, but if we were inclined to approve this, I would think it would be wise to make it that we approve this project to be constructed in substantial compliance with this site plan, because I see like 64.41 feet. I don't want to get into, well, they need to move it over a quarter of an inch and they have to come back to us or anything like that. So that would be a suggestion I would make. So.
Good suggestion.
All right. Any discussion? All right. Seeing none, we'll call for a motion.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of the site plan presented with zoning case Z 190018 with provision that it be substantially compliant with the plan as presented.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. That concludes our meeting, but we do have a PUD committee item that we need to bring up. Mr. Morrison, tell us about that.
Yes, sir. We've got the PUD information. According to our bylaws, we have to have a PUD committee of the Planning Commission that is appointed by the chair. In the past, we've just taken volunteers who want to serve on the commission, or volunteers who want to serve on the committee, rather. And so we just, as a procedural matter, we need to appoint that PUD committee. Now, of course, we've always held these PUD committees, and it's been open to all members of the Planning Commission. But just, again, just to keep in line with what we've got in our bylaws, I think that we need to establish who's going to sit on that PUD committee, and again, with open doors to anyone else who wants to attend. So
we'll call for volunteers to serve on the PUD committee. Anybody?
So, Mr. Lowry volunteers.
All right. All right, Dr. Dickerson. All right. And also Jay.
I mean,
It doesn't
There's
really
no-
specify in the bylaws.
I would recommend if you're interested and you're new, which you are, you can learn more about things.
Well, and then too, Mr.
Not to
Nelson, I'll
put
go
you
ahead
on
and
the
say
spot,
that
Evan.
the bulk of these are going to be in around your area because that's the growing area right now. So
nah, I don't.
Okay, cool.
So who all do we have?
I've got Mr. Lowry, Miss Dr. Dickerson, Jay, got Mr. Nelson. You want to volunteer as well, and Miss Carter.
Okay, so that's 6 people.
Yeah, and look, the more the merrier. I mean, don't.
We typically have been meeting before the
Right.
normal.
You volunteer too.
So it's on the
Miss O'Neill
same,
volunteers too.
so it's on the same day as our regular commission meeting.
The way that we've practiced this in the past, of course, for the new members, we used to have a pre-meeting that began approximately an hour before the meeting, and we would also have food and everything else. And typically, we would have the PUD committee meeting in and around that pre-meeting itself. So, but again, with things changing with COVID, and then too, just due to getting new members, us being shut down for a little while, we just didn't have a formal PUD committee established. So.
Sounds good.
All right,
All
so we've got Chairman Evans, we've got Vice Chairman Lowry, we got Dr. Dickerson, Jay Miller, Mr. Nelson, Ms. Carter, and Ms. O'Neill for the PUD committee.
All right.
Okay, sound good?
Sounds good. And am I correct that the PUD committee already has an item for consideration today?
That is correct.
We're going to assemble?
That is correct, yes, sir.
All right. Well, would it be appropriate, I guess, to dismiss the rest of the commission who?
Yes.
Who doesn't want to stay, or?
I have one more item of business
Oh.
before we do that.
Sure, Mr. Barber, go ahead.
So for discussion, and Mike, you mentioned this in your email that went out.
Yes.
So for discussion, two things. One, social distancing of the commission when we meet. Want to establish whether or not, if we're comfortable getting back to normal seating arrangements, or if we want to have some hybrid of that. Some on the bench if people feel more comfortable apart. So for discussion, anybody have any thoughts on that? Or maybe any objections? Not to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
we can do it offline too, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, if people are comfortable talking about it, great. If not, maybe we could email Michael, after the meeting, and let's let him know whether you're comfortable or not, and then, he can just anonymously tell us some people aren't, and we'll wait to get totally back to normal and just kind of ease back into this.
Maybe the approach would be, if you are comfortable, let us know, and then we can, maybe the upper part, we can have people closer together, and down low, we can have more separation.
And that just depends on, again, you all's personal preference, how you want to, you all feel about it. So just let me know.
I'm good with going back to normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I'll vote for normal.
I'm comfortable.
You comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Ms.
All right.
O'Neill, you good?
Michael, with the exception, this includes lunch too, right?
We're going to work on this.
So
we built that into next year's budget. So
Jay, that's my next question, so.
we have built that into next year's budget to bring back the lunch. So.
Okay, so the second part of that is, are we ready to go back to pre-meetings? I would like to see that. I mean,
I would too.
Yeah, I mean, the pre-meetings, obviously we weed through a lot of these smaller issues, and it actually makes the meetings go quicker, and I think we prepare ahead of time on who may make motions, and we learned if some people need to recuse themselves beforehand, we can kind of game plan for those. So there's a big benefit to it, and the camaraderie with it. We get to know each other a lot more. I mean, we come in here for game time and then we're gone. We don't really get to know each other as well. So I think the pre-meetings are good.
Challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be atypical, is if the county commission meeting runs a little long, because that was this morning, and it doesn't give staff too much time to switch everything over. That's the only caveat.
Yeah. Have we
You
had?
need time to be able to eat, and
Yeah.
like Michael said, I don't have money in the budget right now to provide your old food, which means I don't have to provide your food.
Right.
So that would be the only caveat.
And I have been starving this entire time.
P&Z and county commission sometimes meet on the same day.
Well, but that's been the case for for years, right? I mean, and we were doing this before. That was we're just saying,
Correct.
let's go back to the same. But duly noted, yes, that there could be a conflict at times where the county commission runs long, and we may not have this room or the pre-meeting room or chambers to discuss things. So,
It's not a problem.
yeah, but it could
I
be.
don't want to see it, it's going to be hard on staff if the county commission meeting runs until like 10 o'clock, 10:30, and then they got to turn around and, it's just a little bit hard.
Sure.
So,
Well, can we avoid that in any way, or is that just something we have to live with?
The way that it works, because our meeting days are set in stone, just the second Thursday. County Commission, they adopt a different calendar each year, so about half the time this year it's on the same day, half the time it's not. I mean, and we could sort of gauge and prepare ourselves to get ready for those crunch days if there's going to be a crunch.
and we've ran into that before. We've had to wait
Yeah.
for them to finish. So,
Yeah, we've had that issue before too. So.
I mean, we could just do a pre-meeting in half an hour beforehand.
Or we need something. Well, and then too, they'll be having commission meeting in here, and we'll be in there doing the pre-meeting. So,
Right.
Yeah.
but we could figure some stuff out definitely. And if there's something going to be of great controversy, we might even, for instance, if we come to P&Z, we have a long zoning case. There's a lot of people here in opposition. I've got to schedule that for county commission. I could work to schedule that on a time when I know we're not going to turn around and have to have P&Z that afternoon.
Okay.
So.
So it sounds like we're agreed that we'll restart pre-meeting next month.
I don't know if we can start next month.
That's kind of soon.
Yeah.
How about August?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
August.
You said
August?
Okay. I'll take it.
Sounds good. All right. Well, then that concludes our
Regular business.
regular meeting for the planning commission, and then we'll now, I guess, begin our PUD committee meeting. If anybody, planning commission wishes to leave, feel free to. Otherwise, Mr. Morrison, fire away with our only item on the PUD committee.
All right, and this is a garden home style subdivisions off of Old Tuscaloosa Highway. How many lots do we have here proposed? I'm sorry.
Hey, I don't mean to belabor this either. Can you tell us real quickly what exactly the PUD is? I mean, it's a zoning classification. It's not.
Yeah.
There's not rigid standards within this zoning classification like there are others.
Correct.
Our role here is to consider this and to. Well, you
Right.
say it better than I do. Tell us.
And I apologize. I keep, I'm used to rolling into these things.
Yeah.
I forget that we've got newer members. The Plan Unit Development Zoning District is R7. And R7 can allow for mixes of uses. It can allow for sort of unique arrangements of things. Basically, what happens is people will present us a plan, and we approve things on that plan. And then whatever they do, as far as subdividing the property later, developing the property, has to begin substantial conformance to that plan that's adopted. There are times when we'll have to call the PUD committee together as well if there's changes to that approved plan. For instance, up in Forestdale, the Cherry Hill Retirement Home, that is a PUD. And over the years, they've changed several elements of it. I mean, it started off, it was going to be a retirement home this tall, and then they reduced the height and changed the layout a little bit, but they had to come back to this PUD committee to get approval to do that. It's also the purview of the PUD committee in instances like that to kick it back to the planning commission. Anytime somebody wants to make application for R7, they have to get approval of the overall layout schematic from the PUD committee before they make application. And that's the case here today. And so that's sort of the abbreviated role of the committee itself. And so, like I said, it's approval for new stuff that they want to do in R7. And then, like I said, you'll have to revisit things if they want to change something after it's been approved.
And are there in R7? Are there built-in standards, setback standards, and things like that? Or when we review a plan, I mean, we have flexibility, but we also need to really focus on what we're approving too.
Correct.
I mean, because this is just a much more focused consideration.
The PUD is sort of designed to allow some sort of flexibility, or allow a little bit of flexibility with regards to lot layouts, with regards to even use, because again, we could have retirement homes that have a multitude of, like a big multi-family looking building and cottages. It could even allow for industrial or commercial uses as well. But all this is found in your R7 guidelines within your zoning regulations, if you've ever got a question. Now, what we see the bulk of in R7 is garden home style developments. And a lot of times developers will want to go to the R7 as opposed to the RG because, again, it does allow a little bit more flexibility with how you want to do your lot layout and that sort of thing. The good thing about R7 is it does have standards for open spaces. There's a minimum of 30% open space. And so these are all things that we check out. Of course, as things are permitted on each lot or whatnot, we adhere to whatever the plan was approved, as well as whatever standards are set forth in R7. There are some setback standards, but again, they tend to be a little bit relaxed as well. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions about that? Just the overall functionality, how R7 works? Okay. This particular case is down off of Old Tuscaloosa Highway in McCalla, and it's adjacent to the Jefferson Met Industrial Park. We'll go look at the aerial photograph real quick. All right. In fact, I want to say that is the former Home Depot, or if it is existing Home Depot, the distribution center. Of course, the industrial park all accesses from internally. This is going to kind of like buffered on the backside. And what's proposed here is, again, a garden home subdivision. You'll see on the map there are some what we call blue lines. These are areas of sensitivity with regard to drainage. They call them, it's all hydrological. There's also some floodplain that runs along the railroad tracks there that you see as the border on the southeastern side. And what they've proposed is a layout that is going to sort of mind where these sensitive areas are. Let's go this way. This one's a little bit better. By making those common areas. And then also, they've got a little space for like a clubhouse or some sort of community building, community use. And there are 2 lots there along the frontage that the property owner is wanting to not include in this R7 zoning and leave that as A1 agriculture, which is currently zoned now. This site does have access to sanitary sewer, so it can support the density. And again, it's pretty well just a garden home subdivision that's just going through the motion, going through the process. And that should explain why it is that it's laid out the way that it is. Again, just trying to avoid those environmentally sensitive areas. And they do meet the 30% open space requirement. Yes, Doctor?
So can you tell us about, is it 4-star or Forester?
4-star.
4-star.
Yes, ma'am.
So I Googled them.
Mm-hmm.
So they are working in 55 cities or 24 states or something like that?
Yes, they're a
So
large
this is the same
housing
company?
outfit. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Formerly D.R. Horton?
No, it's a subsidiary.
Subsidiary of D.R. Horton.
It is a separate development.
So how does it work? Because they do community design,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have builders.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have their own builders, or how does it work? Who's going to do the building on this particular? You don't know?
Yeah, come on up if you would.
Brett Loveman, 4-star development, 2188 Parkway Lake Drive, Hoover 35244. So we are strictly a land development company. So we will develop the road, the infrastructure that you see as that plan shows, and then we will, once the lots are, pad rated, ready for a home to be constructed, we sell the lots to builders. We don't have a contract with the builder yet. So it could be D.R. Horton, it could be Newcastle, it could be.
I was going to ask, is it Horton?
It could be, or it could be another builder.
Okay.
But we are strictly land developers, not builders.
Okay.
There's a distinction.
All right. That's what I needed clarification. Thank you.
Might I add one thing?
Yeah, right, go ahead.
And poor Michael, he doesn't, this is my fault. The landowners came back to me yesterday and said, well, they'd really like that upper cul-de-sac, where you see lots 137 to 143. They'd like that to be part of that ag lot up there instead of residential. So those, you see there's kind of a little dotted line there.
Mm-hmm.
They want that to actually be part of that A1 lot.
Everything north of the dotted line?
Yes, sir. So it's just 7 lots in that
Right.
cul-de-sac. So I would like to make that a part of the request that everything north of the dotted line would just stay agricultural, and everything south would be as you see it.
What is that? Is that a sanitary sewer easement or a gas line? Fiber optic?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's just the fiber optic that's feeding the industrial park.
Gotcha.
So your residential number's gonna come down from 152 to 145 lots.
Okay.
From 152 to,
145,
okay.
yes ma'am.
Michael, could you scan down or scroll down to where we can see the entire development in the front? I see the clusters to carve out the sensitive areas. And what lot widths and things are we looking at here? Just generally, Rhett, on
60s.
60s?
So they're 60 foot wide at minimum,
Mhm.
and the depth is generally 125 feet.
Okay.
So it's, I can't get a square footage in my mind, but
Again, that's
they're bigger than the RG lots.
Right. Mhm. Okay.
Can we scroll back down to the aerial?
Sure thing.
Just the, no, so where are we? The development's there in the red?
Everything outlined in red, yes, sir.
I got a question. So you're gonna put the infrastructure in for the water and sewer?
Yes ma'am.
Okay.
Yes ma'am, we do it all. And then the railroad you see kind of is on this, I guess what was that, the east side of the property. Yeah. Right.
So are we going with R7 just so we can have different lot sizes? What makes it so unique that you want to do R7?
We've used R7 in other places, and it's just gone well with the count. I mean, like Michael says, if there wasn't an exact zoning classification that really fit, because we didn't really want RG, we didn't need that small of a lot, but we didn't want the R2, so it was just kind of in no man's land. And this is just a good builders like this size lot, so it just kind of fit best.
So no coffee shops,
No, those two agricultural lots, those will be retained by the property owner, and their plan, obviously, if they ever want to come and do anything on it, they'll have to come back before the commission, whether they want to do commercial or something like that.
Because it's in the PUD.
No, well, that's actually going to be excluded from the PUD.
I see.
Yeah.
That's a good question that he's asking, because from what I read about your company, and it's a design for community, so there's nothing else there going to be there except residential.
Residential, and there'll be a clubhouse.
And
or
a clubhouse.
Or a pool community, something like that.
But nothing else commercial.
No, ma'am, and, one thing that Michael pointed out when we were going through this, because the property owners actually asked to have some commercial along the highway there, and Michael said that was counter to what the comprehensive plan said, so that's why we just left it agricultural.
Okay.
It didn't fit within the county's plan for the area.
Okay. Well, we don't vote on this necessarily. We do, or do we?
It would need to be a vote of the PUD committee to allow them to go ahead and make a
proceed.
application.
Yeah.
To go ahead and proceed.
I'm ready to make a motion.
All right. Is there any further discussion?
Just one quick question.
Mr. Grove.
Open areas, 30%.
Yes.
They're all being covered by those areas, those conservation areas. That's how, so there won't be any little dog parks or anything like that. It'll just be the natural areas left where people won't be going through it.
Yeah, and now the community will have sidewalks for the neighborhood that will, obviously connect the neighborhood that way. And there could always be in that area where we have the clubhouse, there might be a separate playground area or park. I don't have that much information yet because we're just at the preliminary stages. But yes, the natural areas by law, they're waters of the United States, so we can't touch them. They stay as is because they're protected.
What's the railroad track?
So that's the large line that's right here, like on the southwest side.
So to your,
Well, it's it's right, it's on the border of it. Norfolk Southern's rail hub is a little bit further down, Old Tuscaloosa Highway or Eastern Valley Road.
Southwest.
And then, like I said, the Big Jeff Met Industrial Park is, that's pretty much the northernmost lot within it right there. And they've got several of these sort of developments in and around McCalla. Letson Farms is a huge one. Then we've got McCalla Trace. We've seen several subdivision plats for additions to those. And so this would kind of be in line with everything else that's going on down in that area. Except this one will be essentially introducing it along Old Tuscaloosa Highway. But that's also where you got your employment center with the industrial park as well. So.
And further back, we did a big one back at Liberty Park off
Yes.
Seacar Hollow Road.
Yeah, we did that one too.
Cotswold, that's the name of it.
All right. Rhett, do you want to add anything else, or
No, sir.
not that you expected to? I'm not suggesting that. But.
Just that if it does get approved, that it would be approved with the understanding that those 7 lots north of the fiber optic line will be taken out on the P&Z submittal.
I got you.
I don't know. I mean, this is just,
We'll clean that up before the P&Z submittal.
Right.
Right.
Okay. This is you're basically just approving the idea, the concept of it at this location, and then we can get into more specifics as the full application that will go before you whenever they make application.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, then would I guess call for a motion.
Okay.
Am I the chairman of the PUD committee? Or do we need to appoint a chairman
You
of the
can
PUD?
appoint a chairman,
You're the chairman.
or y'all can vote on the chairman.
Wait a minute. I think we're fine just going ahead. So,
All right. Well,
so, I'll make a motion that we, let's see if I can word this. I haven't done it in a while like this. That the PUD proposal presented today is reasonable to proceed for R7 rezoning.
Excellent.
got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you. Is there anything else for the PUD committee to consider done? All right.
No, sir.
Then we're adjourned.
That wasn't that fun.
I didn't realize he was home.
Everything's on this side of the road. That's the
It's a way of trying to do something a little bit different with the subdivision, but you need to control it because you don't want it to get out of control. You don't want like a neighborhood. So a lot of times when you was playing unit developments, one little things in, like maybe a doggy spot.
Yeah, or
something
like you
like
said,
that.
the Starbucks.